There is a small German village called Büsingen am Hochrhein. At first glance, it's just an ordinary German village with everything you'd typically expect. There is a church, a town square with a piece of art in front, a German bank, the Sparkasse, a branch of the typical yellow German post, and so on. But something here in Büsingen feels different, because alongside all this German stuff, there's also a Swiss phone booth, a Swiss postal code, Swiss newspapers, and a Ruhrbankli. What is that supposed to be?
There is a reason for these unusual Swiss touches in a German village, because Büsingen is a German municipality that geographically isn't really located in Germany, but in Switzerland.
Büsingen is what's known as an exclave, completely surrounded by Swiss territory. You can't get into the village without driving through Switzerland, and you can't leave it without doing the same. And even within the village itself, Switzerland is ever present, even though it officially belongs to Germany.
And all of that, of course, raises one question. Why the heck is that the case? Why is there a small German village that's geographically located in Switzerland? And what kind of curiosities does this situation bring with it? Well, let's find out. Okay, here we are. Welcome to Switzerland. Yeah, I just came from Germany, which is somewhere over there. Then I drove with a car through Switzerland, a little part of Switzerland, only to drive back into Germany again, which is over there. You can already see the small church tower right behind me. That's the church of the German exclave of Büsingen. Let's walk a few meters into that direction. I will show you. Okay, this is the border between Büsingen, Germany, the German exclave on this side, and Switzerland on this side of the border. And actually, you don't really see that there is a border here. The only thing that you can see is the road markings are different. You see it? The Swiss roads have those yellow markings on one side of the road, which is for bicycles, I guess. And the German roads have those white stripes on the road. And that's basically the only difference that you can see here. There is absolutely no toll station here or anything. The only thing that you can see are those border posts. This one is the Swiss one, and over there you can see the German one. Oh, and I noticed another difference. Take a look here. You see those small pillars here. They only exist on the German side of the border, but not on the Swiss side. Interesting, right? Okay, that's how the border between Switzerland and the German exclave in Switzerland looks like. And now I would say, let's go into the village and let's see if we will find some more curiosities in Büsingen itself.
Well, and the first oddity greets us right at the entrance to the village, because the first thing we see here is the Swiss flag, and only behind it, the German one. Is that already some kind of statement? I don't know. And this continues throughout the entire village. You will see both flags flying side by side on nearly every corner. Sometimes there are even paintings like this one here on the town hall wall, although in that one the German flag is noticeably larger than the Swiss one. It's also interesting that Büsingen has its own license plate. The letters Büs are printed on it, but of course it's still a German plate, not a Swiss one. The bus stop signs in Büsingen are a bit quirky too. They've got this curved metal pipe on top, which is typical for Swiss bus stops, but they also feature the German bus stop symbol. From what I've seen, the surrounding Swiss villages don't use this unusual combination. At the town hall, you will also find some information for tourists about Büsingen's special status. And right here in the town square, we will also find the phone booths I mentioned earlier. Although nowadays they are basically gone. But in the past, before mobile phones were invented, there were actually 2 functioning phone booths here. One German and one Swiss. And also on this square there is a local branch of the German Post, Deutsche Post, with the 2 postal codes I mentioned earlier. One German, one Swiss. Well, what else is there to say about Büsingen? Probably the most beautiful attraction is the Rhine. It's wonderfully idyllic. You can go for a boat ride or even swim in a few places. But other than that, the village is fairly unspectacular. One nice thing is there are a few very old, historic, timber-framed houses here, but some of them are slowly falling into disrepair. And if you walk through the resident areas, you will also find a few empty houses. So in some parts, Büsingen almost feels a bit forgotten.
Okay, now we've seen a bit of Büsingen. Take a look here. This is the end of the village, and a few kilometers over there is Switzerland again. Yeah, but even though you can see some curiosities along the road here in Büsingen, there are a few more things that are different in this village because of its special status, things that you don't see at first sight.
Let's start with the police. Even though Büsingen is officially German territory, in some areas Swiss law applies. For example, when it comes to customs, agriculture and the hospitality industry. As a result, Swiss police officers are allowed to make arrests in Büsingen and take the detainees back to Switzerland. However, the number of Swiss officers allowed in the village at any one time is limited. No more than 10 of them are allowed to be present in Büsingen. German police, on the other hand, have no authority on Swiss territory and are only allowed to travel to the exclave on clearly defined routes and only if the Swiss authorities have been informed. What is also interesting, in times of crisis, Büsingen is considered part of Switzerland. That was laid down in a state treaty from 1967. The most recent example was during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Switzerland declared a state of emergency in March 2020. It also applied to Büsingen. For a time, the village was completely cut off from the rest of Germany. Another special case is health insurance. Citizens of Büsingen who are not employed can freely choose whether they want to join a German or a Swiss health insurance provider. And people in Büsingen are also free to decide whether they want to see a German or a Swiss doctor. Education is also affected by Büsingen's special status. Children attend the local primary school until the 4th grade, but after that, parents can choose whether to send them to a German or a Swiss secondary school. The local football club, FC Büsingen, is another curiosity. It's the only German football club that belongs to the Swiss Football Association. And when it comes to telecommunications, people in Büsingen use Swiss internet and TV providers, but still have to pay German broadcasting fees.
Another quite important quirk is this thing right here. Well, not my personal wallet, but what's in it. Because how do you actually pay for things here in Büsingen? With euros or with Swiss francs?
Well, Büsingen is actually the only German municipality where people generally pay with Swiss francs. At times, certain businesses, like the local post office, accepted only this currency and not the German mark and later the euro. Even the local administration calculates waste collection fees in francs. This rule, by the way, is largely because most people in Büsingen earn their living in Switzerland and are paid in francs. And probably also because many residents feel more connected to Switzerland than to Germany, even though they officially live on German soil.
You might find it hard to believe, but there was even a time when Büsingen was in a completely different time zone than the rest of Germany, specifically in the year 1980.
That's when daylight saving time was reintroduced in Germany, but Switzerland didn't follow suit until 1981. And because Büsingen followed Swiss regulations, the village temporarily had a completely different time than every other German town. And that's also why, even today, some operating systems let you choose not only the London or Berlin time zone, but also the Büsingen time zone.
Okay, now we've learned about Büsingen and its curiosities, but what does this actually mean for the people that live here? And does this special status cause any problems?
Over the past few years, there have been occasional news stories about Büsingen and its curious special status. For example, back in 2015, it was reported that the video service Skype didn't offer some of its features in Büsingen. Microsoft explained this by referring to the village's complicated tax situation. But the biggest problem for the people of Büsingen is something else. Because Swiss customs and economic laws apply here, the cost of living is significantly higher than in other German towns. To give you an example, if you go to a restaurant here, you pay Swiss prices, which usually are higher than the German ones. At the same time, however, residents of Büsingen have to pay German income tax, which is higher than in Switzerland. At least there is a tax allowance that helps to ease this extra burden somewhat, though it doesn't fully make up for it. For this reason, many inhabitants of the village have, sooner or later, moved to Switzerland, and maybe that's also the reason why you see some empty houses here. Financially, it just doesn't make sense to live in this village.
Fascinating story, isn't it? Well, but there is still one last question we haven't answered yet, the most important question. Why the heck is this situation like it is? Why is there a small German village completely surrounded by Switzerland? And you already know it, we have to take a deep dive into history to answer this question.
To be precise, we have to go back to the year 1728. At that time, Büsingen was neither Swiss nor German. It was, surprise, Austrian. Yeah, it gets even more complicated. Back then, Austria owned several small villages in the region, and Büsingen was one of them. Throughout the 18th century, Switzerland repeatedly tried to bring Büsingen into the Swiss Confederation, or at least into the neighboring municipality of Schaffhausen through negotiations, but Austria remained stubborn. Nothing changed even when Austria sold several small villages in the area to the Swiss canton of Zurich. Büsingen remained Austrian, and in some articles it is even described as a perpetual annoyance to Schaffhausen. So today's status of Büsingen goes back to a centuries-old conflict. In the 19th century, Büsingen then was assigned to the Kingdom of Württemberg. 5 years later, it became part of the Grand Duchy of Baden. But through all this time, what Büsingen never belonged to was the country of Switzerland.
Well, and this special status hasn't changed to this day, even though there have been various attempts over the past decades to incorporate Büsingen into Switzerland.
After World War I in 1918, the people of Büsingen held a referendum in the village. At that time, 96% voted in favor of joining Switzerland. Still, nothing came of it because Switzerland couldn't offer suitable territory in exchange. A few years later, in 1924, the people of Büsingen tried a more radical approach. They declared they would not shy away from any means of violence. The Baden state government, however, responded with consequences. Several more moderate protests failed, and eventually the authorities stopped responding to Büsingen's requests altogether. Even World War II didn't change Büsingen's status. After the war, the village was occupied by French troops who appointed a new mayor. This mayor wanted to integrate Büsingen into Switzerland, but he was removed after only 2 months. Finally, in 1955, the last attempt of this kind was made. However, the German district of Konstanz, to which Büsingen officially belongs, opposed it. They demanded a land corridor from Büsingen to Germany, which would have split the nearby Swiss municipality of Dörflingen in two. This was seen as a provocation by the Swiss side, and the plans were shelved once again. And nothing has changed since that day.
Well, and that's why Büsingen today is a German municipality completely surrounded by Switzerland. It's a bit complicated, right? But actually also a quite good example of good Swiss-German neighborhood, right? Even though you're completely surrounded by your neighbor here. Okay, and that's it. That was my video, my story about the unusual German exclave of Büsingen in Switzerland. Yeah, I hope you liked it, I hope you learned something, and if you did, then please leave a thumbs up. You can also hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss any upcoming video. And if you'd like to support me and my work, you can also do that, for example, on Patreon, or you can become a channel member on my YouTube channel. Then you will get exclusive stuff and new videos before everyone else. And if you'd like to check that out, you will find all the links down in the video description. That's it for today. Have a safe journey and see you next time.